So you're buying a property off plan from a developer in Spain. The risks, red flags, and what you need to know to make sure the purchase is safe. Let's talk about it in this video. Right guys, welcome back to our expert talks. Today we're here with Luis Carbajo.
Hi Kian, how are you?
Luis, it's a pleasure to have you on the channel.
Pleasure is mine. I'm very glad to be here, and I hope we can explain to your listeners how the guarantee system works in Spain.
Of course. So Luis, for people that don't know you as well as I know you, I've known you for 10 years, right?
Yeah, at least 10 years, I would say, yeah.
We've helped hundreds of clients together.
Probably, yes.
Buy properties, from finished properties, under constructions, and you are one of the senior experts in your law firm.
Yeah, that is correct.
Martínez, Echevarría.
Yeah.
I want to do this video basically to explain to the viewers what they need to look out for when buying a property that's not there. Because obviously, when you buy a property that's finished, a resale property, it's more straightforward.
Absolutely.
But when clients of ours walk into a sales room or they walk into a developer's office and there's nothing there, it's just a maqueta.
Just a maqueta,
just a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly, there's just an idea, but they want to buy in that project. So where do we start in this conversation, what our clients need to be aware of? Let's start with the waiting risk.
The waiting risk. Normally, off-plan buyers, they have to pay something like 30 or even 40% down payments to the developer before the completion, that is during the building process. And sometimes between the PPC, the private purchase contract, and the completion, there are 2 or 3 years waiting, okay? And this is exactly what I call the waiting risk. It is the risk the development is not finished on time, or the risk the developer files for bankruptcy, for example.
So what happens in that case? Like, okay, let's go the worst case scenario, okay? Someone in the UK, anywhere in the world, buys a property under construction, pays 30%. What happens to that 30%? How do they make sure that's not lost?
And the solution for that, according to our system, is the bank guarantees. Okay?
Bank guarantee.
The bank guarantees mainly are a legal tool devised to offset, to mitigate the risk of the waiting risk. We have 2 types of bank guarantees in Spain, depending on who is the guarantor. So if the guarantor is a bank, we are talking about a bank guarantee. However, if the guarantor is an insurance company, we're talking about an insurance policy. But just to make it simple to the viewers of this video, I'm going to group both types under the generic name of bank guarantees.
Okay, so who governs that? Like, how does that work?
The applicable law. Actually, it's a very old law. It's from the last century, from 1968, although it has been updated a couple of times, mainly in 1999. And also in 2015. It is actually a very short law, only 7 articles. But it created
7 articles.
7 articles.
That's quite simple.
The original one, the one of 1968, is only 7 articles. But it created the guarantee system. It created the base of something that I call the lack of confidence triangle. That I will explain you now where it is. Okay. So to explain this, we have to imagine like a triangle. Okay, we have a triangle. On the top we have the developer.
Yeah.
For example, on the left angle we have the bank, the special bank account,
which is a Spanish national bank.
The Spanish national bank account, yes. And on the right we have the guarantor. In the middle of the triangle, imagine a lot of buyers buying properties from this developer. So each time one of the buyers makes a payment to the developer, it goes into the special bank account. The money that goes into the special bank account is separated from any other funds from the developer. And the money that goes into the special bank account can be only be used to pay the necessary bills, okay?
Of the development.
Of the project. So the key factor here is the developer does not have access to the money unless the bank receives the green light from the guarantor. So as you can see, each of the agents involved supervises the other, and that's why I call this the lack of confidence triangle. Because
no one trusts the other, basically. Yeah. So basically, they're all supervising the other to make sure the other one's doing the job in order to release funds.
Absolutely.
That's how it works.
That is how it works.
So you call the lack of confidence triangle.
Yeah, that is something that it's a name that I put, but I think it works perfectly so that everybody understands what we are talking about. There is an additional guarantee for the buyers, which is the obligation the developer has to include in the PPC, in the private purchase contract, that they will refund the monies to the buyers in case of breach of contract, and they also need to include in the PPC the name of the guarantor and the special bank account number.
So what does a bank guarantee look like? It's obviously a document that's signed by the bank, right?
Yeah, it is produced, it is issued by the bank or the insurance company, as I said before. Actually, it should be individualized for each of the buyers. So just imagine just a piece of paper, a document where it should be included, obviously, the name of the buyers, the nationality, the home address, the name of the developer, and also the amounts that are guaranteed. So it will be the amounts paid plus the VAT and the legal interest on top of everything, okay? It should also include the special bank account number, and if it is a bank guarantee, it should include as well the number within the registry bank guarantees of the bank institution.
So the amount that's, let's say, if someone makes a down payment of 100,000 euros plus VAT, so 110,000 euros, the bank guarantee would be of 110,000 euros plus.
Yeah, it will be everything, including the VAT, and also on top of it, the legal interest. The legal interest is approved every year by the government. It could be around 3%, but it depends. Every year change.
But ultimately, that money, if something were to go wrong, and we'll talk about that in a moment, is basically paid out by the national bank that's guaranteeing that payment.
It will be paid by the national bank, yes, in case of failing the developer giving the properties on time.
The lack of confidence triangle. Interesting.
Yeah.
So from what moment is a bank guarantee valid?
The bank guarantee is valid as from the moment the developer gets the building permit. Okay, this means that in many occasions reservation deposits are unsecured because there is no building permit yet. This could be acceptable. However, no buyer should enter or exchange contracts with a developer until the building permit is in place, and therefore the guarantees are in place.
So let's talk about the costs of a bank guarantee. Who bears the cost of this?
Actually, by law, it is the developer who has to pay for the bank guarantee, and I must say, Kian, that it has high cost for the developers, but it should be paid by the developer.
Is there a percentage of it, or how do they calculate? How do you calculate how much that is?
Yeah, I'm sure it is a percentage of the amount that they are guaranteed, but this will depend on the guarantor, okay?
So Luis, just following the timeline, finds a property on the construction of plan, they sign private purchase contract, they make the payment into that special bank account, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then the developer produces that bank guarantee. So you no longer have money in your account, right? The money is gone.
It's gone.
You have a piece of paper.
That is
right?
correct.
How is that valid?
Okay.
And how long is it valid for?
Okay, ideally that bank guarantee should be valid until the first occupation license is granted. However, due to recent changes in law, now the buyers, they have 2 years to secure the guarantee before they expire. So the bottom line is they have 2 years since the developer is in breach of contract.
2 years. So just for people who don't know what execution means, what's execution?
Execution mainly means to enforce the bank guarantee. That is to request to the guarantor to refund the monies to the buyer.
The cash out, let's say.
Yeah, the cash out. Yeah. If by any reason they refuse to refund the monies, to start legal action against the guarantor.
Obviously, that document, when does that become null?
Yeah, as I said before, then the bank guarantee should be valid until the first occupation license is granted. Again, due to recent changes in Andalusia, developers can easily get the license of first occupation license, mainly because they can self-grant the license, okay? So they don't need to wait for the city hall to approve it, like it used to happen in the past, that sometimes the developers, they had to wait something like a year to get the license, okay? So this is done now by declaración responsable, which is a self-declaration, is a self-statement where, as I said, the developer self-grant the license.
So in the timeline again, you find a property. I mean, normally when you buy a resale property, you're going to be buying a property that's finished. You pay money against the possession and ownership that's immediate, right? That's how a resale transaction works, right? With a, let's say, property purchase on the construction, you basically agree on what's going to be built. You make a payment, and against that payment, you get the bank guarantee, and then you hold on to that bank guarantee all the way until completion moment. And then you exchange that bank guarantee, you give it back to the developer?
Yeah, normally when the property is finished and it has the first occupation license and you are at the notary, it is very normal the developer request that you give back the original of the bank guarantee. Okay?
Why is that if it's null?
Well, the reason is that the bank guarantee, once it is given, you can enforce it at any moment. So it's
at
very
any
important.
moment, regardless?
Well, you have 2 years period, as I said before, but then the bank will always request to give it back and destroy it, because it is a document that it is enforceable.
It's like a check at the end of the day.
It's like a check.
It's like
yes.
a check.
Yes, you could even go to court, even the property is ready for completion with the first occupation license, and try to recover. Of course, that will not succeed in the courts, but it's very important. It may happen.
Just for our viewers, you know, the easiest, let's say, comparison is you're walking around with a check. Basically, you're walking around with a check regarding that property. Am I right in saying that all bank guarantees are bank guarantees, or are there different kind of bank guarantees, subtypes? How does that work?
Actually, Kian, there are 2 types mainly of guarantees. One is the standard one, the standard guarantees, and the other is called guarantees at first request. In Spanish is
at first request.
Aval a primer requerimiento. Okay. The difference is that the standard, the bank may refuse to refund the monies to the buyers if they consider the developer is not in breach of the contract. If this happens, and the only way to go ahead for the buyers would be to take legal action against the guarantor, that implies to take the services of a litigator lawyer, court agent, and pay anticipated cost for everything, and also for the process fees, and then wait for a court ruling in favor of the buyer. Okay, if this happens, the buyer may recover not only the principal but also the legal cost of the process. And the difference with the other, aval a primer requerimiento, guarantee at first request, is that in this second type, the guarantor cannot refuse to refund the monies to the buyers.
How common is that one, though? It's not that common, right?
It's very infrequent.
Very infrequent.
Yeah.
So from the developments in Spain in general, what would be the percentage of one and the other, would you say? Approximately?
Approximately. Let's say 90% standard ordinary guarantees, and the other 10%, something like that, yes.
Interesting.
The difference, as I said, for the second is that the bank, they need to honor the guarantee, they cannot refuse to pay, and they have to pay for it. As I said before, they are not very frequent.
When it comes to the bank guarantee itself, I mean, for people that obviously start in their journey, they'll be in touch with a lawyer in the transaction, at least, you know, when they're buying a property. Who is the figure in the transaction that requests the developer to hand over the bank guarantee? Okay,
ideally it should be the developer giving the guarantees to the buyers without asking for it. However, in the practice, it is normal that the buyer himself or the legal representative of the buyer ask for it.
Like, I find it quite interesting because, you know, in other countries, right, when you buy on the construction of plan outside Spain, right, you pay into a normal bank account. Right, and you just trust the process, and you trust the developer is going to be building the development as they should, right? So basically, you know, instead of like a 30%, you pay like, you know, 2,000, 3,000 euros a month for 36 months.
Okay.
Here with the setup we have in Spain with the bank guarantees is basically depositing a big chunk against a bank guarantee and then waiting for delivery of the promised product.
That is correct.
Luis, let me just put it into context. You speak to a client, a buyer.
Yep.
You've done all the due diligence on the purchase.
Okay.
You've told Mr. Client that the developer's got the building license. Everything's in order.
Okay.
The contract is in order.
Okay.
Right? And at that moment, the client needs to make the payment to the developer. How does that happen? Like the switch of the payment and the bank guarantee. When is the bank guarantee actually issued?
Good question. Actually, bank guarantees are not issued or are issued after, let's say, 30 days after the payment. The reason why is that the guarantor will not issue this guarantee until they make sure that the money has been placed into the special bank account. Remember the triangle we discussed before? So normally it takes something like 30 days.
So what happens in that instance? In that 30 days, something happens to the developer?
Well, the money has gone into the special bank account, so it is protected anyway, okay? Even though you have not received the bank guarantee, the money is there, and and I said before, it cannot be taken by the developer for any other purpose. It has to be only to build the project.
So I think that covers very well, Luis. Let's say the consumer that buys a shelf product from a developer. 95% of the developments out there have this sort of setup. But there was a very popular setup, which was a setup where instead of buying a product from a developer, you basically bought a land, and then you became the developer.
That is correct, yes.
So I always say to our clients that there's two kind of ways. When you buy from a developer, again, shelf product, or you become the developer, which we call autopromoción.
Autopromoción.
And generally, what happens with our clients is that they will send us a message and they go, hey, look at this villa in Idealista that's for sale at 800,000 and it should be for sale at 1.3, 1.4. And without even looking at the ad, I already tell them, yeah, that's not traditional developer setup, that's autopromoción. So that's a key difference. How would you define autopromoción and what is that?
Okay, autopromoción, self-developers could be defined like somebody buying a plot of land and then they take the services of an architect, they take the services of a construction company and they build a villa. If this is the case, they are not considered as buyers, they are not considered as consumers, they are self-developers. In a way, they are taking the risk of building the house, okay? In this particular case, there are no bank guarantees, okay? They will not be protected by law. And I must say, Kian, that this is the case also of resales. When somebody is buying a used property, if you are buying a property from an individual, you are not receiving guarantees because you are not protected by law.
So these were the very famous cases with companies like Binoc and Otero?
Yeah, this is the scheme that they used to offer to their clients, yes.
So they basically said, buy the land and I will do the building for you, but essentially the risk is run by the buyer.
Absolutely.
So, and in these cases, obviously you pay less, right, than market price, the developer would normally sell it to you, but you take on more risk.
You take more risk. You are the developer.
So what else would our viewers need to know? No, they're buying somewhere in Spain, under construction, off plan. You talked about insurance policies. So you have the, the bank guarantees where you have the triangle, but when it comes to insurance policies, how do you know which sort of company to work with and how is that regulated?
Very, very good question, Akian, because actually not every company trading the market is authorized to give guarantees. Okay?
Authorized by who?
Authorized by Dirección General de Seguros, which is the Spanish official body which supervises the insurance activity of the insurance company. So just by entering into the website of this official body, you can see a list of, somebody calls them cowboys insurance companies.
Cowboy insurance companies.
Yeah, let's say, I prefer to call a blacklist where you can see all the list of companies that are not authorized to operate in Spain. So it's a very simple check that anyone can do. And this list is updated from time to time. Nobody should, exchange contracts without testing or checking this list.
Luis, it's nice that you joined and we talk about buying off plan and bank guarantees because the one thing people don't actually talk about. People say there are guarantees in place, but it's really nice for our viewers to understand how the circle or the triangle, better said, works. I think it's super interesting.
Okay.
And it's great to know what happens behind the scenes. For you guys, by the way, if you are interested in reaching out to Luis Carbajo and Martínez Echevarría, we will leave their link in the description of this video. But for you guys to get to know Luis a bit better, we have a few questions, which is what we call Quickfire. And Quickfire, Luis, is where I ask you one thing or the other. Are you ready?
Yep.
Marbella o Mijas?
Well, I prefer Marbella. Actually, I live in Marbella.
¿Jamón ibérico o queso manchego?
I would say jamón ibérico.
¿Salmorejo o gazpacho?
Let's say salmorejo, probably.
¿Tapas o paella?
I love both, but I would say paella.
¿Ensalada rusa o croquetas?
Ensalada rusa, probably.
¿Espeto o pilpil?
Espeto.
¿Estrella Galicia o verdejo?
Estrella Galicia.
New construction or resale?
It depends the property you are in love with.
That's a lawyer's answer. Yeah. If you had to choose one Spanish dish to eat every day for the rest of your life, what dish would it be?
Tortilla patatas.
Yo, that's awesome. Luis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kian. The pleasure is mine.
On the channel. I hope for you guys which are watching, this was of value. If you are new to the space, subscribe to the High Homes channel. We're going to keep you posted with videos just like these. If you have comments about how things work in Spain, the legal, the purchase side, sales side, anything in the real estate panorama, let us know. Comment below. That's really it. Until the next time, hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Thank you.